So the great thing about jQuery is the way that it makes selecting DOM elements really, really easy. That's the main selling point for people when we're getting into this. So finding stuff in jQuery is dead easy. And that's because it uses CSS selectors. So it uses CSS selectors, in which you're hopefully familiar with, like HTML selectors, class selectors, ID selectors. Anything that's a CSS selector can be used by jQuery to find the element within the page. So in the document, I've got this paragraph here, which has got a class of low light. Here it is in the code. And what I would like to do is change the class of it. So what I could do is, if I was doing this with vanilla JavaScript, I'd have to say document dot query selector all, and then dot low light, and then I could get hold of it. Now that's not too bad, so that's kind of vanilla JavaScript. But if I wanted to do that with jQuery, remember it's write less, do more, I could just literally I could call the magic $. So let's move that down. Right, so we could say $, and then in here we can just use CSS selectors. So we could say low light, and then if I wanted to add a class to it, so I've got a class in my style sheet here called highlight. It's going to be yellow with a black background. So if I wanted to add that to it, again in vanilla JavaScript, I'd have to do dot set attribute class of highlight. Now, because jQuery is written by developers, they know that that's really long-winded and quite a bit of typing to achieve a fairly simple task. So what we can do with jQuery is we can just say add class, simple as that. So it abstracts all this away, and then I could put my highlight class in there, which is in my CSS. Right, so let's go back, refresh. You see that's now picked up the highlight class. I'll show you. Right, click and inspect that. There it is, class of low light, and we've added the highlight class to it, which isn't there in the original, so the JavaScript has injected that in. Now, as well as the set attribute method in vanilla JavaScript, there is remove attribute. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, and this is a slightly strange example, but let's say I wanted to get rid of low light as well. It doesn't really make much difference, but so I did want to get rid of low light. I've used low light to find it. I'm going to add that class of highlight in, but now I want to remove low light because it's no longer relevant. So in vanilla JavaScript, I'd have to use remove attribute, but in jQuery we have a remove class, and so I can pick up low light, and what we do is we can chain these together. So the dots are saying run this one. Once that's finished, run this one. So it's going to get rid of low light and now make that class of highlight. Okay, so the ability to pick elements up using CSS selectors is really, really handy. Just be aware that, just commented out, it will work in a similar way to CSS. So if your DOM selection that you picks multiple elements, it will apply that class to multiple elements. So if I went after, say, paragraph tag, which would be very blanket approach, and I added the class of highlight to all paragraphs, it is going to apply to all paragraphs. So that's perhaps not what you'd want to achieve. You see all the paragraphs in the document now pick up that styling. So there is ways that you have to be a little bit more targeted. So one example is I could say dot first, which would find the first paragraph from the DOM. So we'd only add it to the first one, which is the same as which we achieved when we went after that. Okay, so great thing about jQuery is you use CSS selectors to find stuff, and then there are loads of these helper methods that we can then apply to stuff. Slightly artificial example of this though, so let's get into events next, where we can really see the power of this stuff. Right, so let's look at jQuery events. So what I'm going to do in this little example is I've got this more details down here, and I want to reveal some text that's underneath it. So what the user, when the user clicks on here, it's going to reveal some text underneath it. So a couple of points here. That this is that element in the HTML. You see it's in this paragraph of ID of show more here. If you've got the lab files for this, they might be slightly different because I've just amended it with this I. This is using Font Awesome, which is an iconic font, which gives me all these kind of nice icons, just to add that arrow there. So do have a look at Font Awesome if you want to see how that is done, but that's going to give me a little down arrow. Right, so I want to capture when the user clicks on Show More here. Now in vanilla JavaScript, I would use something like document.getElementById, and then what was it called? It was called Show More. So we'd put in Show More, and then we'd do add event listener, and then we'd put click, and then we'd put in an event handler, and then we'd say console info. Just as a test, I was clicked. Okay, nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Refresh, go to the console, click on here. You see it works. Okay, so I can just use good old JavaScript at any point. So that's a vanilla event. Again, that's vanilla JavaScript. So do have a look. I've got a movie on events in JavaScript that you could look at to see more details about that. But remember, it's right, let's do more with jQuery. So what I can do is I can say $, and then I can say hash show more. So I can use the ID selector, and then I can just literally say .click. So that means I don't have to do any of that stuff. And then I can get straight into the event handler. Okay, so I'll just put the same console in. I was clicked with jQuery. Right, let's try that. Let's go back, refresh, click on here. There we go. You can see it picks up that event. So that's jQuery's version of this. You will see the click event is a very common event, so they've got an abstraction of it there. It can be written like this as well, so you can say on, and then you can put in the click this way. Both of those are perfectly valid approaches. Right, so that captures the event. So let's get into jQuery effects so we can have some fun with this. So I've got this more content here now. Currently, more content has got a display setting of none in the CSS. And if you've ever wondered in CSS why we hide stuff with display none, it's so that we can reveal it again, usually with JavaScript. So what I could do inside of here is when they click on that, I could say $, and we've got more content. Let's make sure I just get that right because it's camel cased and it's a ID selector. So it's saying find more content and then dot, and we can reveal it. Now, if we in vanilla JavaScript, we'd have to change the display property, which I'm not going to do. It'd be a couple of methods to do that. But in jQuery, I can just say show. So if I select that, that's going to reveal it for me. So if I go back to here and refresh and click on there, and you'll see it will reveal that bit of content underneath. Now, this gets us into the wonderful world of effects, and this is a real crowd pleaser with jQuery, because inside the show, I could actually put in a value of fast. So let's go back and refresh, and we click on this, and it reveals it. Okay, if I right click and inspect that, show you what's going on. So there's more details there and more content. That's what it's. See, this has now got an inline style of display block. Let's just refresh. Let's line it up. So just watch what happens here when I press here. So this is what you need to look at. Okay, so you see that it ran through a whole series of inline CSS to apply that styling. I did it very fast. So there's fast and there's slow as built-in values, but these are just values in milliseconds. So if I put in 5,000, and you may be thinking, it's to do with set interval, which is you'd be right. So it is vanilla JavaScript under the bonnet, obviously. So if we refresh this one now, and so this is going to go a lot slower, so you'll be able to see what it's up to in here as I do this. So off it goes, and you see it's changing all those values, which would be torture for me to work out, which I could do in vanilla JavaScript, but let jQuery sort that out for me. Now once it's revealed like that, you might be thinking, I want to hide it again, and that's where there is a hide method. So a little sneak preview of what we're going to go with this, but what you can do is a second parameter here is a callback function, and you can put a callback function in and have that react in some way to when the if jQuery effect, as it's called, is finished. So just for demo purposes, I'll put in a little finished message in there. Right, so I'll do this. I'm going to regret that it's going to take 5 seconds, but give me time to get over into the console, and when it finishes, bang, there's the I am finished message. Okay, so this function is a callback that gets called when it's finished with that effect. So in theory, what I could do in here is I could put some little conditional logic to pick up whether it was revealed and then reverse the process to hide it. It's entirely possible to do that, but remember with jQuery, it's write less, do more. So jQuery developers understand that us as developers are likely to want to do that. We're likely to what's often frequently called toggle. So there is a toggle method that we can use. So I'll just get rid of that. We will see those again later on. Let's put this back to a second, and we'll change this from show to toggle. And toggle, which will toggle between show and the reverse of show, which is the jQuery hide method. So it'll work out whether this needs showing or hiding. So we'll click on it and it shows it, and we click on it and it hides it. Okay, that's pretty cool. Now, there are lots of these jQuery effects. So toggle is that's going to toggle between show and hide, but we also have things like fade in. So let's put fade in there. So this is a jQuery helper method. It's going to mess around with the opacity setting. So I'll go to the elements here and just watch the opacity setting appear in there. And you see it changes it to fade it up. And you have a fade out as well, and you also have a fade toggle. So let's just increase that value again so we can appreciate what's going on. So we'll click on this, it's going to change that opacity value over time to fade it up, and then once it's done I can do the reverse to fade it back out again. So I've exaggerated the numbers for sake of demonstration. And we also have another one is slide. You have slide up and slide down, and you've guessed it, we've got slide toggle. Let's make this a bit faster. This is a really nice one. So in here it's going to slide that down, and we can slide it back up again. Okay, which is pretty cool. Okay, and with very minimal amount of code. Okay, so that's jQuery effects.